This is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this podcast series is called Spiritual Immersion, Taking the Plunge. And even though this is called Taking the Plunge, it's really about the incremental steps, the cultivating awareness of what's happening in the moment, in the now, in the present moment, that is impacting you and is influencing you, is part of your reality, part of your life that you may not be noticing or may be confused about or maybe not sure if it means that there's something wrong or something right. So these podcasts are to help you empower you to clarify for yourself and discern for yourself what's going on. When you're not sure, if you think it's something physical, definitely go have it checked out with your physician or your health practitioner so that you can be sure that there's nothing physically going on and that what you're experiencing is something that's a detoxing or a purging or a purification process at the energetic vibrational level. Now, we don't, we hear about that in sort of, I'm going to do air quotes, of a woo-woo perspective, but we are vibrational beings. We are electric beings. We are energetic beings. And we don't interpret when things are happening in our physical body. We don't generally interpret that as an energetic response or an energy element of who we are and what we're about. We just think, well, there's something wrong and I better get it fixed, or I better take some medication so that will fix it. But that actually doesn't allow our bodies, if we don't acknowledge our body's capacity to heal itself, then we don't make room for that to happen. And we will do things like take medication or eat or do something that makes us distract from the experience that we're having. So in this particular podcast, I want to focus on that process of discerning, okay, is this a physical situation? Is this emotional? Where is this energy happening? And basically it's happening on all levels and all realms. But usually we begin to cultivate awareness, consciousness around what it feels like in our body, the physical or somatic response. So quite often if I'm upset about something, I'm going to feel it in my body. I'm going to feel upset. The next stage, I'm going to do this very quickly, sort of. The next stage is our emotional self. And quite often some people don't feel the physical, but they feel the emotional. I feel sad, I feel mad, I feel bad, I feel angry. And then those emotions that go deeper, dread, despair, despondence, lots of D emotions that start with D. And so, in terms of who we are, we feel like we are our physical self. But as we begin to expand our consciousness and our awareness, we begin to go, oh, I feel that in my physical body, but I also feel the emotion. Emotion, I loved what Greg Braden said, emotion is energy in motion. So we feel the energetics, and then we give it a name. I feel this energy, and I call it sadness. I feel this energy, I call it happiness. I feel this energy, I call it despair. So we name these things based on the resonance that we feel. It's kind of interesting. And then what you'll feel is the mentalness of it. So it's like we feel the mentalness, or we have a thought, oh, this is something. And we want to declare, okay, what is this? And try to bring clarity, mental clarity, and an understanding or intelligence to this process. And sometimes we can't do that. Maybe it just doesn't make sense, and I'll explain that in a second. And then there's the spiritual realm and the energetic realm. And it was interesting for me in this process of spiritual immersion to experience, first of all, that physical sense, a somatic sense of what I was feeling in my body. And then the emotional, I felt sad, bad, mad, glad, joy, whatever that is that I felt on the emotional, the energetic emotion level. And then it got to a point, and it still gets to a point quite often, that it doesn't have a somatic sense to it, my body. It doesn't have an emotional name to it, but it's an energetic resonance or a vibration or a something that just doesn't match what I'm thinking I should be experiencing. So, for instance, a friend was trying to get a hold of me a couple days ago, and I finally, she said, please call me. Where are you? What's going on? And when I called her, she said, I'm worried about you. I was worried because I hadn't heard from you in a couple of hours. Well, I hadn't talked to this person for a couple of weeks, so it wasn't like I thought, oh, I better let her know I'm, busy for 2 hours. But she was worried, and so she let me know, and I appreciated that she was worried about me. But how I responded was kind of interesting. I mean, I just said thanks for worrying, and I was good, and that kind of stuff. But when I got off the call, I felt something. But that something wasn't like mad or sad or bad or glad. It felt like something else. And quite often, Alexa, pause. Sorry about that. Pause again. Alexa, stop. These funny things in our lives these days. So I didn't feel a physical sense. I just felt a resonance or a dissonance that wasn't in alignment with what made sense. So I realized that in the past, if a person said they were worried about me, I felt loved. And I would shift to, oh, I'm loved. They love me. And I would get very happy. And I go, oh, I'm happy. I'm loved. But the fact is that because they worried about me didn't necessarily mean that translated into how they cared for me. They cared about me, but how they cared for me, how they demonstrated their love, how they reflected that love, it didn't come across. So here I made the assumption that because they worried that I was loved, but how that love was translated didn't fit with me in how I experience love. So it got very confusing for decades, literally. And so when this person said, I worry about you and I can't get a hold of you, the first thing I did was interpret, oh, they love me. But the truth is that I know they love me, but the way that they love me or care for me is not in alignment with the resonance of truly feeling loved. Now, the reason I bring that up so clearly is because where in my being do I experience that dissonance of the interpretation my mind makes, oh, I'm loved, with this doesn't feel like love resonance. And this is where a lot of us are working stuff out for ourselves, and it doesn't make sense in our logical mind. And that's a really important, that's a big, big place that you'll be playing if you're doing this spiritual immersion process, is you feel the dissonance, but you can't discern what that is or why it's there. It doesn't make sense. Quite often we want to make sense. Oh, here's why that's there. Here's why this is happening. And if we give it a mental, cognitive, intelligent response, we feel better about ourselves, or we feel better about the circumstances, as opposed to saying there's no answer here. This is just the way it is until it resolves itself, as it does. And so that's a big element. Now I use the word discernment here because quite often discerning is different than, making a choice. This is what it means, or this is what I'm going to do about this. It's like, I'm not sure what this is. I'm not sure what I'm being told. I'm not sure what's happening to me. I'm not sure where this is going. And the ability to be comfortable with the discomfort of not knowing is a huge part of this process. Being comfortable with not knowing, being comfortable with perhaps the discomfort, the dissonance of this experience, and being okay with and having faith with, there's something here working itself out. That I'm just going to let it be rather than try to fix it, try to control it, try to make it something. Just let it be, as the Beatles song says, let it be. And in that process, then we become much more honoring and respectful of this unfoldingness of our being that is so much greater, so much bigger than who we know ourselves to be in this physical body. So as I came to say, okay, there's some dissonance here, and I'm feeling into it, and I'm kind of going through my database, like, where's the source of this? And I think when I can do that, I feel there's a part of me that feels very, very young that was trying to make sense of being part of a family that was very large and quite dysfunctional in many ways, and that love was not expressed as a genuine expression of love. Quite often it was expressed as something else, most likely a manipulative form of love. I'll give you this if you give me that, or whatever that dynamic is in many families of what love should be or could be or needs to be versus love as an energetic vibration of itself. So in this process, I realized that there's a part of me that got triggered that's very, very young and can't make sense of somebody saying they love me, but that their actions do not represent love. Their actions do not demonstrate, or is not a true expression of love, the big L love, as unconditional expression. It's something else. So there's a part of me that it's like we can't understand that from a mental perspective until we do, that there's this very young part of me, and maybe even past life or whatever, parallel lives or ancestral, where it doesn't know how to be with the circumstance of someone saying, I love you, and their actions don't fit those words. So me, myself, in here, this inner part of me is confused and working it out. And there's nothing to do. There's nothing to think. There's nothing. All there is to do is to let it be what it is and love that part and experience that part in its truest expression, which is confusion, frustration, disappointment, sadness, insanity, because it's like some people say some things and then they don't follow up. There's an incongruency. Being with the incongruency of life, being with the incongruency of communications, all of that. So that's a big part of this process of spiritual immersion, is noticing these underlying qualities of being that feels like a dissonance. It doesn't feel like a resonance, like a lovely hum, but something that's like more of an irritation or irritableness. And it's not necessarily in the physical body or the emotional body, but you can feel it. And sensing into that is really such a valuable experience of knowing yourself to greater and greater degrees. So that's pretty much it for today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email me at rosie@theparadigmshifts.com. And I really encourage you, if you need support, I'm available for coaching around this, or you may know people who are spiritual guides or therapists who work in this field. But don't hesitate to get yourself some form of support, a spiritual companion. I call myself a thinking partner, someone who can steward you through this process that you're going through. It's really, really valuable. And I've had stewards and support all through my process, and I'm so grateful that I reached out and asked for the support that I did receive, and it was so valuable. My website is theparadigmshifts.com. Feel free to visit and see what's there in terms of blogs, books, and videos, and other offerings. And I'll look forward to talking to you again soon. Many blessings, big hugs. Bye for now.